I was 17 years old, I promised myself I'm going to be a millionaire by 25, which is pretty crazy because now I'm 25 and I did it. I wish I would have said earlier that I would have maybe hit it earlier, but I said by 25 and here we are. Law of attraction works pretty precisely. If I would have said by 20, maybe in 3 years from 17, I would have hit it. See, sometimes it's like you learn something every step of the way. Even now, I'm like, I could have done this faster if I'd set my mind to it faster without the fear of failing at it and just took massive action. But I've been telling myself this since 8 years now, that I want to be a millionaire. But see, I never, until last year, I really didn't comprehend what the responsibility of $1 million business is. And now we do way more than $1 million. We're probably going to touch 3 million this year alone. It's our first 12 months. It's our real first fiscal year into the online business world. We're doing 3 million. Which is pretty inspiring to me, just thinking about it, because I worked so hard to get here. My seminar business did 1/6 of that over 3 years, and 1/3 of that over 3 years, and it wasn't even this like good, the business. So we learn every step of the way. But let me tell you something. First month we had 34 grand, and the second month we had 0. Okay. The next month I struggled and I got 2 sales, and we did about 12 grand. Then I struggled a bit more, and we did about 24 grand the next month. So in September of 2020, and one person refunded, and they became, God bless that person's soul, but they became a nightmare for me and my company. Just miscommunication, literally nothing else. And so I really actually made 16 or 18,000 that month. And so I was really struggling to like keep up, because I had way more expenses than just 10 or 20 grand. Like I had an office, I had people I had to pay, I had myself I had to pay. So I'm like I had this big month, and I got this unrealistic projection of my month or my company now, and I'm like, this is gonna be great. And then everything went to shit after. It's like bad. Okay. Then I got COVID at the end of September. Then I got COVID. Okay. And now I'm like, man, I'm dealing with this refund issue. I'm not making sales. My money's burning out on the ads. Okay. So I wasn't making enough money. I wasn't getting enough book calls from the ad to the webinar funnel. It was working, but it was like really wonky. And I was good at it. So it was like beyond my control. It was just the market and the platform and all this. And I hit COVID, and then now I'm like knocked out. We're not making sales, but money's just burning on our ads every day. We're spending like $100, $200 a day. Then I was freaking out. And October comes and I get better from COVID. I got over it. And I'm like, man, how am I going to make some money this month? Like I can't run more ads to this funnel. So I have to figure something out. And I started to think about organic. And we did organic. And within we get our biggest week and our biggest day, we had a $10,000 day and a $20,000 week. I'm like, this is amazing. Okay, we got to do more organic. And then once I got that money, I put it back into ads, and our ads started kicking back, and we did another $38,000 in sales. So we did 58 grand. I hit my first $50,000 a month after getting COVID and after having 3 months of a streak of shitty results. So you guys got to have persistence and faith is what I'm talking about. We're going to talk about the 5 keys in a second. I just want to tell you the story of how we got it. And what I want to let you know is like some of you guys, some people are in business and they're hoping things will be easier, but you got to stop wishing things will get easier and start wishing that you get better. Okay. Because most people want to last 3 months back-to-back consecutive bad results, which is what I was having. And after having a great result, like most people quit, most people would change their direction. Most people stop doing the thing they're doing. But I said, no, we got to keep going. This is the way we got to do it. And our 4th month after that, 30,000 a month, or 5 months into the launch, we did 58,000 a month. Then I'm like, man, I'm underestimating organic. So I focused more on organic, and then I created a back-end lead offer, and we hit $106,000 in sales. At this point, I'm like, okay, organic is important. A lead is important, and driving more traffic to my core offer is important. So I'm like, okay, let me upgrade my offer. So I spent all of January and all of December and January just working on modules and trainings for my clients, because I want my clients to get really better results too. And so in those months, we just had lower months, like 30 or 20, 25 grand, 35 grand, something like that. And I was okay with it because we had these big months. So then I finished up the program and I upgraded everything. Then I started going into it again in February of this year. We did another 80,000. We did 80,000 in sales, and it came mostly organically. So now I hired this ad agency. They're doing a terrible job for me. And I do the organic stuff, and that's doing so easily bringing me in clients. I doubled my prices. I'm like, man, this, I got to do more of this. So we had our highest cash collected month. Even though we had a 100K month, we didn't even collect as much as what I collected in the 80,000 month. So I'm like, this is great. So when March came around, we started the month of March really well. We started with like 50 or 40 or 50 or 60 grand. And I did a post about like doing 50 grand in like 9 days or something. And we did through that funnel. but I was combining organic. Yeah, Lauren, good times. And Bimal, love you, brother. If you're watching, by the way, and you think this is fire, drop some fire emojis in the chat. And if you have questions, let me know. Just put in the comments below. So we start off the weekend in March real well. And then it just for 3 weeks just went like no sales came in. So I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And my agency was getting us barely any results. And I was paying these guys a lot, like, you know, it wasn't a lot of money, but I mean, well, it's relative. But I was spending a lot of money on ads. So these guys are the best agency in the world. I'm nothing against agencies. My personal experience has been that they haven't worked well. I have one right now for Instagram, and the guy is a rock star. I endorse him. But everybody else, like, I don't know. I found myself ending up having to train the person they signed to me for media buying. Now, nothing against them again. They were good people. They're just results didn't come in, and that's just a fact. I don't know what else to say about that. So these guys supposed to be bringing me calls every week, right? Like 20 calls a week. I'm like, we're going to scale real quickly. And I started focusing on other things like building up the brand and all that. And March was a slow month. Like we hit 50 grand, we stopped, 56 grand, and we stopped. A week before the end of March, I'm like, man, this is terrible. Like I just bought a bunch of new masterminds and programs. I'm like, 56 grand, like we don't have enough money for me to pay this stuff off. I need to make more money again because I'm reinvesting into myself and into the business. While I'm there, there's 7 days left to the month. And I'm like, you know what? Instead of me just making, because I needed like maybe 30 or 40 grand more to pay off things that I just bought, because I bought all these expensive masterminds. Like you guys don't reinvest the money you make into like more programs or higher level stuff. You really don't understand the value and the power of investing in yourself and in your business. I would never go and buy real estate with that. Like I would put 50 grand back in myself because I know I can turn that money around 5 to 10x fold with like 100% guarantee because I'm the one in charge of doing that, right? So I can take what I learn and make more of it. So long story short, 7 days into the end of the month, I'm like, I need 30 or 40 grand to break even with what I just bought. But I'm like, you know what? Screw that. I'm going to stretch myself. Why can't I hit a $200,000 a month? Why not? I already hit 100 last year. So I'm like, why can't I do 200? And it's like, I really pushed myself. I'm like, I had 7 days left. I'm like, you know what? If Napoleon says whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve, then it's true. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to prove to myself that I can hit 200 grand in 7 days. Let's do it. I only need 150,000 more anyways. And I had 200. So I put my mind to it and I started to read my goal out loud every single day in the morning. I started to visualize it very heavily. I even had an imaginary mastermind at one point with Napoleon Hill in my head where I was asking him for advice and all this stuff. And so what happened was within 2 days of the 7 days, so 5 days left to the month of March, the idea hit me on how I'm going to hit it. And I came through such a coincidence. And this is how the sixth sense works. It's how the Napoleon Hill thinking grid works. I was like, man, we got to hit this many sales to hit it. But then I posted something and one of my clients responded to me saying that they wanted something from me about this. And I realized I'm like, wait, why don't I just do this? And within 2 days from there, so now 3 days left to the end of the month, I had about 10 people applying for an elite offer of mine. And we started signing up people. And so within the last 5 days of March, I closed another $150,000. It was roughly like it was 125, I believe, actually. It was like 130, 40 something. I don't know. I just remember the total of the month ended at $199,800. And I'm like, man, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Honestly, it's not just a bullshit statement. It's not a quote. It's a fact. It is a law. It's like, but the key is you believe it, you have faith. So we hit 199,000 within 5 days. Now imagine what my brain's doing. It's like, why am I aiming so low every month? In 5 days, if I did this, why can't I do that? Why can't I do $1 million a month? Because if I have 30 days. So the next 2 months, again, we did all this money and we had all these amazing new people I was starting to work with. It was great. I created a whole new level of an offer and it was amazing. And I started getting really good at what I was doing. And I started to realize organic is very important. So instead of just teaching people how to build webinars and run ads, I'm like, let me add an organic. So that's what I did. And then I started helping a lot of my clients hit that 7-figure mark themselves, scaling to $100,000, $200,000 in a month within 30 to 60 days using organic. It's something we call hyper organic. I combined what I learned from the webinar world, which is ads and funnels and all that. I combined that with an organic strategy with a Facebook group. And we created this thing called hyper organic marketing. And I'm the inventor. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm the inventor. These are all compilations of ideas from other places that I put together in a very streamlined fashion. There's other things called hyper organic, where I think you boost posts and then you like comment back to people on those posts. Like, that's a cool idea too. I've never done it. I know what would be more relevant is me calling it hybrid organic, because what I'm doing is a hybrid of paid traffic and organic traffic into one system, streaming book calls. So I started to teach this thing to my clients. And after me doing it myself, hitting that 120, 30, $40,000 in 5 days, I did it organically. So I taught it, and I had 3 millionaires come out of my program within 60 to 90 days. So it's funny because we hit the Two Common Club. Majority of our $1 million in cash with this one funnel and this one offer came from the last 4 to 5 months of the 12 months, like in the last 4 to 5 months right now. And in that same 4 to 5 months that we had the majority of the cash come in, I also helped create like 4 different millionaires in my program. People that have reached that 7-figure mark by hitting over 6 figures in a month in sales. And so when we say our millionaires, I'm talking about people that get to over 100 grand a month. They are building a $1.2 million business consistently. So that's why we call them our millionaires, our 7-figure coaches. Now, let me tell you something. When you help other people get what they want, you always get what you want. So it's not a coincidence that in the journey of me hitting the goal I wanted, it was also the peak of how many people I helped hit their goals and crush their limiting beliefs. For April, May, again, I refocused on client upgrade. Like, I'm always working on getting my clients better stuff. And so we had, again, a low month. But last time our low months was 30 and 25 grand. This time our low months was over 100 grand. And so we collected over $100,000 2 months. And so I'm like, okay, it's not bad, but we should be growing, right? So then June came around, and I upgraded brand new trainings and all this stuff for my clients. And I brought in new team members and all this stuff. And in June, I'm like, let me focus again on just marketing sales. And we had $250,000. So we beat our last biggest month. And so you can do the math. Most of the $1 million that we crossed by August, just this past couple of weeks ago, came in the last like 90 to 120 days, which is insane to me, because I looked at my Stripe and it was like this. Like, literally, that's what it looked like. I'm like, man, it's pretty crazy to know that we ran $1 million, and like literally half of that came within a few months. That's pretty impressive to me, because it's not like it was a gradual growth. It was like we figured something out. We found a secret, and it's like it exploded us. After we hit $250,000 in June, in July, I said, okay, you know what? We got to hit a $500,000 a month. And here's what's really what I'm proud about is in that month, I didn't do much. I removed myself from my businesses, and I told my team, I trust you guys. You guys can do this on your own. I obviously did my marketing, what I have to do on my side as the face of the company, but my team took over the entire operations. And that month, we didn't hit $500,000. We hit $660,000, which was last month. And we blew past the $1 million mark. We're scratching 2 million now, just within 8 months into the year. So we're projected to hit $1 million just this quarter, and then another $1 million next quarter. We're going to be past 3 million. So all of this happened so quickly. In that time, I was going inward more and spiritually, and I was traveling, meeting some really cool people. I got to meet amazing people like Ryan Blair, who built and sold the company of Visalis. They're doing $65 million a month, and he sold the company for $792 million. And I got to sit down and start walking with him and go through his retreat. And she had a meeting with him just the other day, and we were looking at his processes in his company. And he was asking me for help on the sales and marketing side of things. And so right now I'm getting on calls with this team this week, and I'm doing it pro bono because, a guy like him and a mentor like him is an honor just to talk with. And so I'm going the extra mile for him right now, helping him out with his company. And so I got to go inward and meet some cool people. And in the same process, my team developed leadership, leveled up. And that's when we paid out $100,000 in payroll to everyone on the team. This is not including me, by the way, just to my team. And so the more I get to give. The more you make, the more you give, the more impact you make. More clients of ours made more money. My team made more money. I made more money. It was such a win-win-win situation. So that was July. And it's funny because in August right now, we're having a slow month. And again, we call this normalization in my program and scaling it clients. It's when you take your floor and you make it your new ceiling, right? And you take your ceiling and you make it your new floor. So if 100K is a big deal to you, what you do is you normalize that with your mindset shift and with your results. You get 100 and you bring it down to floor. So 200 is your ceiling, but the floor is 100 again now. So every time you have a high, it's a new high. Every time you have a low, it's a new low. And so, like I told you, the first low we had was going from 34 grand to $0. Okay. The second low we had was going from 100 grand to 35,000. The third low we had was going from 200 down to 100,000. So 100,000 was our floor. Now we hit 660 grand and our floor is like 200 something, 250,000. We're at like 200. We're just about to touch 250 grand in sales this month. And I'm like, man, this is a bad month. I was sitting there. I'm like, don't be a dick. You know, I looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, don't be a dick. A lot of people don't make $250,000 in a year. When you're making this in a month with your team, like, stop, shut up. So it's everything. Perspective is everything. I sat there. I'm like, I'm so grateful that I worked this hard, came to a place with my team where having over $200,000 in cash collected is bad. I'm like, what a perspective shift.